Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, June 26th. And we have a week overnight. Did not look very pretty. Started off and then started absolutely falling apart. So we were closing towards the down the lower end of the range yesterday. We actually held on pretty good. A little pop at the very end. So I thought we had a shot at holding on to the gains, or at least holding the fort going into Friday. But the overnight had a different things in mind, and we just took out these lows and just made new extended to the downside. We are all the way down here to that 73.50 now on the ES, and yeah, key area of support that comes out. Things can start getting pretty gnarly. So we are down. We are in the move out of the middle to the downside. This sell-off, the unwind started at unwind, whatever trade that was, definitely is still going on. Weakness is following. News this morning, international trade at 8:30, and then consumer sentiment at 10. That's what we got. The speaker at 11:30, Kashkari. But consumer sentiment, I think, maybe the one to pay attention to. But right now, and I don't think either of them are going to really move the market a whole lot. I think this whatever is unwinding in the background is probably going to still keep unwinding until it's done, and then we may see the market's going to turn around on something here. But we had some spectacular earnings on Micron this week, and uh, after that, we just keep getting selling. So I thought that would had a shot at least at turning the tide. It did turn the tide going into the into yesterday's trading. It looked pretty good there, but everything kind of fell apart from there, and then yeah, we keep going to the downside. So starting off right now from the short side of the market, looking to sell strength for rotations down. So um, early on here, looking to sell. We're trading around about 73.90 now. Looking for short setups against the 7400s, the 7415s, the 30s, and the 40s for rotations back down again. Up to the 50s, 55s here for, it will be the last one that will be the high of the overnight. There'll also be the high of this, the day, well, the day session's main distribution from yesterday. So that would be the value area from yesterday. Above the 74.50, so maybe more optimistic about the potential retracement to the upside, maybe a little bit of strength start building, but initially those are the levels I look for short setups against. And if they for some reason take out the 74.50 and look stronger, then we may start considering the long side on this one. So that's how we get started. Buying weakness, not so much. Buying against the 73, 75s and 65s here for rotations up, maybe down to the 55s. We're getting into some key support here. So looking for long setups down here, definitely an opportunity, but I would not be in a hurry to do that. There's plenty of time. This is on an F1. That's the support area exists. What I mean is, so it can take a bit of time to form a base before you start seeing some retracement going from there. So no rush to just step in front of it on the way down here, but just be mindful that down here we are getting into a pretty big area of support. If that area comes out, to take out the 35s, and that would be the 35s and start retracing into this lower area. I think bets are off, and it could get pretty gnarly at that point. So that's what we're looking at on a Friday, going into almost the end of June. So the weakness seems to come early this year. If I'm not completely mistaken, I think the last year we had pretty strong June and July, and this year is coming early. So I think that AI trade is the SpaceX IPO and all the money flowing back and forth trying to fund that thing, and also this crazy run on memory chips is having an impact, creating some volatility. Definitely a big trade being unwound, and that's being it's reflecting in the market right now. So we'll see when they're done. It's a more pile-on effect. Once we get into July, we're going to start hitting that earnings season. But right now, it looks pretty weak to get the day started. Starting off from the short side, looking to sell strength. And as I said, looking for shorts against that 7400s, 7415s, 25, well, 2020. 25 to 30s, the 40s, up to the 55s here, 50, 55s for rotations back down again. And above that 55s, looking for potential long opportunities or a little bit of strength. So staying on the long side at that point. And below that 35, so they start taking out these lows, man, that could be, as I said, pretty gnarly. So we'll see. Not much you can do about it right now. They don't do it. I'm just surprised though, looking at some of these stocks, like Microsoft and Meta. It's like you're actually getting absolutely creamed. They're getting knocked down. I think Microsoft is trading down at 350. My Meta down at 540. I mean, that's levels that haven't been down for a long time. So those big techs, the magnificent sevens, they're definitely getting some money taken out of them, and new players are popping up. Looking at the Nasdaq. Looking at the Nasdaq, and they took out this key support area in overnight, the 430s. They're trading right there now, but you can see here there was a big move to the downside. That was from the 29 800s all the way down to the 170. So 700 points on the downside on the Nasdaq. It's pretty crazy, guys. Pretty crazy range on that one. So I may have to start compressing my Nasdaq here. It's going to be moving like this. So you can get perspective again. Starting to get to that point where you start missing the perspective. So anyway, so starting off from the short side on the Nasdaq too, looking to sell strength at this point against the we're trading at the 410, 400s. So first short opportunity against the 460s, and then session in London high at the 570s, and the 620s. The mode of yesterday around the 700s, and then 750 up to the 800s. But I mean, I think if they start trading up above the 470, 500s, or say the 470s and then the 560, 570s here, these two on the session highs or London session high. So if they get up above that London session high, I think we may be at least between these two resistance areas. It would be a little bounce off the low. But I would not be all excited about the long side until they really start retracing this. So you get some of these dead cat bounces throughout this, but it's micro learning gave me a little bit of hope, but right now they're right back down again. So you see that overnight. They were all trading up here at the 880s, and they're down like almost 700 points to the downside in the overnight. That's just freaking crazy. Now the day session is back in here and looking at potentially retracing. So looking for early strength again, all the way up here to that the 870s. I would probably maybe start leaning towards the long side above the 770s. That starts getting up to an area where you may have a shot at trading higher. But it's one level outside the obvious is going to be up here at the 880. One level outside of that is 920. And more often, Nasdaq goes up and runs up and really fakes you out. It looks like they're going to take it higher, and then they just turn on you. So Nasdaq super volatile, super crazy, and it's just had to trade that with a bit of caution right now. But look at the four short setups against that 460s, 460, 470s, the 560, 570s, 620s, 690 to 700s, 760s, up to the 880s for rotations back down again. So looking for some get short against strength. On the way down, buying weakness, not going to be very aggressive on that. Unless you get the really good setup, maybe do something there, but it's not something which is really high on my priority to try to step in front of a freight train like that, So looking to buy weakness with a lot of caution. It could be support here at the 300s and the 260s, those two support areas, maybe down to the 200, 210s. But it's, as you can tell, if you look at the F1, you get in down here and you look at this thing, they can run it all the way down here to that to that 500, 28,500 again. So we may have still some pain ahead of us if they keep this moving. So so pylon begets a little bit of pylon. So we may very well see them try to push this to the downside. We will see how the day turns out. It is a Friday in June, so not expecting. I mean, it's usually I would expect a big rally on a Friday like that, especially with what's been going on in this week. But anything can happen. So just watch these levels. It start taking out these highs. Maybe you have a little strength start building. That would be pretty spectacular there to start getting up that far and then pushing higher than that. But chances are we may see some afternoon weakness, early strength and an afternoon weakness as we've been seeing for the last few days. All right. Now, the surprising thing, though, is like the afternoon weakness hasn't really materialized a whole lot. There's been more range bounce trading going into the close of the trading session, the day session. And then you have the overnight, which really makes the move. They really take it lower in the overnight. So it's definitely Asian markets involved in unwinding this trade. So that's where we are on the ES and then NASDAQ. We'll start also from the short side. Let's see what kind of strength we get here early on. On the bond market, pretty much sideways, nothing much going on that guy. They've been trading in a pretty tight range here, so I would just stay range bound on the bond market. They're going to buy against 113.30 to 113.20s. They're going to sell strength 1408s, 14, 15, 16 up to the 1420s for rotations down. So that's kind of where we are on that one. It's been a pretty tight thing. I'm just watching for this retracement that's going to start developing. They're going to try to retrace this move. And if they take out that 113.30, that could be a potential start of that. So I would be mindful that there could be an early short there. And if you're short, actually, you can probably stick with that. But I would look to buy against that 1320s as well, one level below that obvious. And if they keep going, you'll just be right in that early short. But that's kind of I think you had to play this one. Get in on that early short if you think it's going to start heading lower. And if it's a fake out, you just have to cover that trade pretty quick. So that's where we are. So that's the bonds. On the cryptos, we got not much going on. There's a bit of downside on the Bitcoin. It looks like they're heading lower, a little bit of a clip. So they're back down to the 5900s. Ethereum is kind of holding steady. But man, Bitcoin has been under pressure. But Bitcoin futures are moving. So they keep moving like that, then you have opportunities. So it gives you a little bit of opportunity for some to make some. Silver is rolling today in the June, so I'm not trading it. That June silver looks pretty crazy. It's the last trading day, so it's rolling over. So on next trading day, I'm going to roll that over. Oil to the downside and down to 69 again. I guess that drone they shot on a ship hasn't done much on impacting oil prices. I think it's still moving. Gold down at 4,000 again. Getting ready to push the 4,000 mark. So we'll see. But here, yeah, those are actually easier to smaller contracts in trading. Even micro gold right now is pretty crazy to try to trade. It's you had to get, and this is even smaller than the micro gold. So this is tradable depending on account size you have. But trading the full size gold is just that would be an experience. Anyway, so back to the ES and the NASDAQ. So pretty much where we left it. So the big question mark today is how far do they retrace? What kind of early strength do we get? And are they going to start taking out these lows and start pushing lower? So that's how we get started. Looking for that. And we'll see how this whole thing develops. Alrighty, guys, we'll wrap it there. So we have our levels. We have an approach. Let's see how this market starts off going into this day session. All right, guys, I'll see you back at 11:30. Good trading, and I'll see you back then.